as a historian, I'm a little cautious about this next quote I'm going to read to you, but please bear with me. This is not the 1930s or 40s, but look at this minor comparison here. This is from Dr. Niemöller. He was a Lutheran pastor in Nazi Germany. And this is what he said. Because you think about how people are being demonized and isolated in our society this time. It's not as bad as what I'm reading to you, but just think about it in this context here historically. And here's what Dr. Niemöller says. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And so that's the importance of us coming together in this vein, in this time, when so many of us are being demonized and castigated and judged and condemned and having names called at us the past year and a half here for standing for freedoms. And you see how it's been a divide and conquer approach. Yeah, Julius Caesar, to be proud, in his conquest of Gaul, he talked about divide and conquer, divide imperia. And we're seeing a division amongst us here, but we're being brought together, because everyone's been affected, impacted by the persecution, by the prejudice being handed down to us. We're Americans, where every life matters, every job is essential, and I just can't believe the path we've been on. It's been a long 2 years. It's just about 2 years now. We went from 14, 15 days of flattening the curve now to 700 days later, and we still have this long, painful fight on us. And some of us are growing weary, and I get it. Tell me about it, having been the target of the left and the media relentlessly with all kinds of hyperbole and disinformation and all kinds of nonsense. You read these articles, I'm like, who is this villain? Oh, wait, it's me again. It's a little ridiculous here. I know you guys do. I'm not going anywhere. We'll quote from Shakespeare, do your worst. They have, I think. Veterans, I mean, as a young lieutenant, a long time ago, I had hair, standing off on the Iron Curtain with my men in the 2nd Cavalry, standing off with the Ivan. And we were told if the 8th Guards Tank Army attacked the Soviet Army, we'd last 45 minutes. I mean, that's real motivating, but we are proud to defend our freedoms that much. We were that proud to be at the pointy end of the spear, to be on the front line of East Germany and Czechoslovakia for these freedoms that we've taken for granted. I remember as an exchange student to West Germany, went to East Berlin, was detained by the Volkspolizei, the People's Police, from really taking a picture in the Friedrichstrasse subway, the U-Bahn there. And I remember so proud a few years later going back to Lieutenant Mastriano as a soldier in uniform, defending us against that godless ideology of suppression. A lot has happened the past 2 years here, but don't grow weary. What's it saying? Galatians 6:9, right? Grow not weary in doing good, because in due time you reap your harvest. We will persevere. We will prevail. We will win, because we're on the right side. We're on the side of the Constitution. We're on the side of freedom. I'm not here to tell any of you how to live your life. That's your business. That's between you and your God, right? We're Americans. You can live how you want to live. You can walk as free people as you see fit here, not as some government bureaucrat that no one elected to office is going to edict and dictate over us. He keeps changing his mind, old Lord Fauci. I mean, really. Just can't. And when the facts are consistent, they stop reporting on data. And we heard from Dr. Wheeler and so many others about how the data doesn't back up these edicts. I knew there was a problem, and all of us did after the 2 weeks that the curve seemed to be flattened, and there was another reason for Governor Wolf to move the goalpost, another reason to extend the emergency order. And it was so frustrating, and the inaction, ineffectiveness of us trying to push back against that. I remember our freedom fighters in Lebanon County. Any Lebanese here? You guys stood alone. Governor Wolf wanted to withhold $11 million of emergency money for you guys because you dare to want to live your lives as you saw fit as Americans. And we pushed on and on. And then we were the first state, because we came together to seize the emergency powers away from the governor and put it back in your hands last June. Wasn't that beautiful? It was incredible. I was so proud of Pennsylvania. It really was rigged against us, because when you voted on those 2 first ballot questions of the 4, you couldn't understand what the heck you're voting on. Remember that? It's like a paragraph. What is this? But we got the word out, and that was us standing together. And I remember Governor Wolf was upset at the results, and his acting Secretary of Health, who's on her way out now, by the way. A bad act. She was very petulant. Remember that hearing in August with me? And she's like, well, Senator Mastriano, I'd like to know what you, respectfully, and you other senators are going to do since you took our powers away. And I'm like, I think the parents know better than you and any other faceless bureaucrat, right? We had a debate yesterday on the floor, I want to really call it a discussion, about whether there should be forced vaccinations of students, of your kids in school. I could not believe this, that you think somebody in Harrisburg knows better than you how to take care of your kids. Really? I think not. No way. And that I heard the excuses and how it's a public risk and it's a danger. Nonsense. The facts are stubborn things. You hear me keep on saying this now, John Adams. The facts are, Acting Secretary Beam told me 14 deaths, every death's tragic, 14 deaths out of 1.7 million students in Pennsylvania. So for 0.00008% of the population, we're going to mandate vaccines, mask your kids up. There's no even guarantee that this stuff does any good for you. We heard all the facts just moments ago, in fact. In the end, it needs to be your decision. And any of these ridiculous comparisons of other vaccines is just nonsensical. It's illogical, and it's an appeal to emotion. It's not based off of reason or fact. 25 years of scientific study in a polio shot when thousands are dying from polio and suffering from polio in 1935 to 1960, but they waited until they had an accurate vaccine. They knew the effects. They had to study the long-term effects. They went through trials, had to redo the mixture again because people were dying. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? But instead of giving you time and choice, if you want it, get it. But instead of giving you time and choice, if you don't get it, we're going to fire you. First they came for the students, then the athletes, then the pilots, then the medical care workers. And the medical care workers, you guys last year showed up, and we didn't know how bad it was going to be. You didn't know if you were going to bring the virus home, and you're going to die, or your family's going to die off because you're doing your job faithfully, sacrificially, and you still showed up. You're heroes then. We celebrated you, and suddenly because you want to have a choice, now you're a villain, you're going to lose your job. What is going on here? Beam me up, Scotty. There's no sign of intelligent life anywhere. I'm like, really? Come on, man. We'll quote from Joe Biden. That's the only time I'll quote from him, right? But, this is what I know. It is a little chilly out here. We're going to wrap it up here. But thank you for coming out here. Thank you for standing for freedom. Thank you for staying the course. Thank you for not standing aside. Thank you for being vigilant, because everything is at stake. It really is. The future of our nation. Veterans, family of veterans, Iraq War veteran, physician assistant, no to medical tyranny. Brother, thank you for fighting in Iraq. Thank you. Could you believe, though, you went overseas to fight in that faraway land, and now your very freedoms that you were defending over there are being stripped away? I mean, it's a strange time. But how we persevere, and I'm going to wrap it up in how I usually do to remind you. 1682, William Penn, just a few years after being locked up in jail for his faith, for his beliefs, he wasn't part of the right church, he didn't have the right politically correct ideas, he was tossed in jail. And the King Charles II, said to him through an emissary, basically, hey, because he was a Quaker, you join the right church and I'll let you out. Just compromise on your beliefs there. It's okay. And you know what he said? I'd rather die in jail than surrender my conscience. And God says in his word, if you're faithful in little things, he'll put you in charge of big things, right? And so William Penn went from a young man persecuted in jail for his faith to the founder of this fantastic state we know as Pennsylvania. And he prophesied in 1682 that we would be the seed of the nation. And he spoke life over this land. And we are the seed of the nation. It happened in 1776, right? Where the light of liberty was lit right down the street in Philadelphia, a city he founded, by the way. Remember who we are. Don't forget. And it was a dark time. It looked like we were going to lose that just a few months later. We lost New York City. George Washington was driven across New Jersey into our state again, near what we call today Washington Crossing State Park. The Army was about to leave. He had about 2,000 men that he could cross the river with, and the tide turned. But don't forget, he lost the Battle of Brandywine Station, Brandywine, and we lost Philadelphia. We lost Charleston. But he stayed the course, and by 1787, we had a constitutional republic. But it was a long, hard ride. It was a hard, difficult challenge, a lot of sacrifice. In 1863, it looked like the cause of freedom in the United States of America was in the balance. But we had a new birth of freedom at great sacrifice in Gettysburg. And then, of course, on 9/11, let's never forget Todd Beamer from Cranberry, New Jersey. Let's roll, right? You guys know this story. It's important we remember. I speak life over this state and nation. We reclaim the promise that we are the seed of the nation, that we will be once again the light and beacon to this world and this nation, standing for freedom and justice and liberty, never again standing aside and letting people's rights to be trampled upon. We stand in the shadow of William Penn and the truth that he stood on in his love of Jesus Christ, that everyone's life mattered, that everyone's life has value. You do matter. You're not alone. We stand with you. Thank you, and God bless you all.